Well, hello again, and today I'm going to tackle another issue as it relates to interpretation, and still trying to make sure I'm set up here a little bit. Okay, so bear with me for just a moment. Why is my mouse not moving down here? Now, before you, I have a screen. This is a website, so this is available to anybody. It is free. And this is called Bible Hub, BibleHub.com, and it has a lot of good resources on it. You can see that you can have different translations. There's sermon information on here, the Strong's Concordance, which is generally considered the best concordance, commentary. What I have before you is the interlinear. If you know Greek, if you want a lexicon, a dictionary, you can do that as well. So there's all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to show you how I use this. Because, again, I have some Greek background, not a great deal of Greek background, but this particular website gives me what I need. I have some dictionaries and stuff that I can look at as well. They're called lexicons when you're dealing with foreign language studies like that. But this particular website gives me a lot. So we were looking at Romans 1, 16 and 17. So let me go to Romans. And it's kind of weird the way you have to do this. Romans 1, if you wanted to go to Romans 2, you'd have to scroll down and you can see each chapter here. But you actually have to go to chapter 2 before you can then go to each individual verse. Okay, I'm going to go back to Romans 1 now. And then I'm going to go to verse 16. And you can see one of the things that we have are arrows. So if I click this particular arrow right here, if you're following along, then why is this not showing my screen? I thought it was showing my screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if I click this arrow right here, then it will go to the next verse. So that's very simple. You don't have to use these drop-down boxes at the top of the page. You don't have to. You can just go back and forth down here. Now, so the English in this is not necessarily going to make sense like you would normally. This is the order in which the words were written in the original languages. So again, Romans is written in Greek. So not for I am ashamed of the gospel power, the is implied, for of God it is unto salvation. I've said before in a sermon, if we were to read the Bible as it is written, it wouldn't really make sense to us because it was written in a different language. And so there's translation, there's transliteration that all comes into play. And that's part of the distinction between the different translations is not just how they go word for word and reorder those, but do they go thought for thought? And that's a very important consideration. For instance, the NIV kind of looks at the whole paragraph and says, what is the author trying to say? Let me try to put this into English in a way that today's reader can understand based upon gathering all of the information from a particular paragraph. The ESV, for instance, or the New American Standard, or the King James is much more word for word. So you can see that a literal translation of "ou," the Greek word "ou," is the word "not." Okay, gar, this is the word gar, that's a G, gamma. Gar is the word "for." So again, to make that into English, to make it readable, there has to be some manipulation. One of the other things that we must understand about the Greek is that there was no punctuation. So where you see punctuation, sometimes there's an inference, and sometimes that causes problems. That's for another day. I'm just trying to give you a very, very simple understanding. So, for instance, when we look at the text of these things, we can see that euangelion, which is the word we get evangelism, you can see this is called the transliteration. Euangelion, it is taking letter by letter, the epsilon, alpha, gar, gar, etc. It is taking each one of those letters and transliterating it, so taking what the Greek equivalent to the English would be and putting it here. The translation is gospel. And then this is the English for it. It's a noun. It is in the accusative case. It is a neuter noun. English doesn't really have masculine, feminine, neuter, but if you know for some foreign languages, they do. So this is a neuter noun, and it's in the singular. So I've mentioned many times that, let's go to Romans 12. We should be able to find it pretty easily there. That a lot of the verses as it relates to the word you, I'm trying to think where the word you would be, that it is in the plural. I'm actually, no, there it is. Okay, so right here, we see the word you in the English, okay, and the word you in this case is second person plural. And I'm going to try and get over it. You have to look at the right where this is. I'm going to click on it. Okay, so it is. Nope, that didn't work. Sorry. If I highlight this, if you look over here on the very right hand word, it says personal / possessive pronoun. So ownership, accusative, second person plural. When we look at the English, we can't tell whether it's a singular or plural you, but most of the time you see the word you in the New Testament, it is in the plural. A website like this would show you very simply. So again, BibleHub.com, I'm in the interlinear. I clicked on this button right here before I started, the interlinear. If you can see where my mouse is, I'm kind of dragging it right there. And this gives you this information. Again, I know this is beyond what many people would use for this, but it is helpful. So again, this allows me to get more into the detail of the Greek. It begins to show me what different words might mean. For instance, what does adelphoi mean? Well, if I click on the word adelphoi, it shows me different uses in the New Testament. It's used in Matthew 12:46, Matthew 12:47, Matthew 12:48, etc. You can see that in the Greek, there's the word. In the New American Standard, it is my brothers. In the King James, it's brethren. In the interlinear Bible, it is brothers. So you can see different ways it's used. You can see different forms of it. And again, I know this is more complex, but you can see different forms of it and how it is used in how many times it's used throughout the Bible. If I scroll down some, you can see additional entries, how it's used. So this would be one of these ways, like a concordance, if you wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of it, you can see how these different things are used. One of the things about adelphoi, and I've said this before, when I pick up a new Bible, when I buy a new Bible, before I buy a new Bible, the very first thing I read before I take it out of the store, I want to look at some verses. I want to look at some verses that are well known. Just choose John 3:16, see how it reads in that. But I try to read everything before Genesis 1 before I leave the store, because I want to know how this Bible is going to treat certain words. And adelphoi is one of those words. For instance, adelphoi means brothers and sisters, but most of the time in the text it's only brothers. But if you look in the footnotes on each page where adelphoi is used, where adelphoi is translated, you will see that information. Again, I know this is technical. Some of this is technical, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background as to, again, how I go about some things and how I try to put some packages together. But beyond the words, we need to make sure we have a good understanding. We can know what the words mean, but do we understand the words? This goes into commentaries. Now, what I have before you here, if it pops up, why is it not popping up on your screen? Pause with me for just a moment. Let me update this like this. Oh, I think I know what I did. Okay. This is a tool that is not free. It costs quite a bit of money, actually, and I could spend a lot more money. But this is a tool called Logos. You can see that up in the upper left-hand corner, Logos Bible Software. Okay, you hope you see my mouse in the upper left-hand corner. And if I come down, let me expand this again. You can see that I have Romans 2 up, and this is the text. Now, the text that I am reading here is from the ESV. If I click on ESV, you can see it. ESV is highlighted in this tab where my cursor is right above. Well, notice where that pop-up comes up. My cursor is in the upper right corner of that. If I come over a little bit, I'm on the New American Standard. I'm on the Lexham English Bible. I really like this translation. I haven't used it much. The NIV, the NRSV, the King James. So these are, and then a dictionary. So these are just different translations. If I wanted to compare how the ESV compared to the LEB, I could just click on this tab and it's going to change the text of the LEB. Okay, and this is just the Bible text as if I was reading the Bible. Down below, this is what I use to construct my notes. Now, if I go back over, let me bring up this file again and share that with you. Oops. Okay, I showed you this one yesterday. This is the one that had my words in it. If I scroll up just a little bit, my concepts, my themes, my keywords from the passage. If I scroll down, ignore the highlighting for a minute, I'll talk about that. But here's commentaries. So the New American Commentary, let me highlight that for you so you can see where I am. And there's a lot of information here. I do footnote these. That way, if I reference them in my sermon, I can know exactly where I got it from, and it's not plagiarism. And I post that on the website, for instance. If a quote makes the blog, I will post this as part of that. The pillar commentary is right here. Okay, and there's several of these. Now let me go back to the other screen, back to Logos. And if you'll notice, here we have the New American Commentary for Romans. So that NAC, New American Commentary, that I had in my notes, this is where those notes come from. The PNTC, Pillar New Testament Commentary, the New Covenant Commentary series. I have 7 different commentaries right here that are all pooled together. And again, you do have to pay for these. Some commentaries are free, but you do have to pay for these. And so I take notes on each of these 7 commentaries for each sermon to make sure that it's not just my thoughts. Again, I've gone through, I've tried to pull out the right words, I've tried to understand what is going on, I've tried to identify the themes, and then after I've done that, after I have my own ideas, I want to go back and make sure that I'm not missing something, and I am oftentimes, or more importantly, that I'm not making something up. Again, these people have immense background in New Testament languages, which I do not. They have immense background in the culture of the day, which I do not. I mean, I know a lot, but nothing like these people. And what the other thing that these commentaries will do is they will go back and they will refer to commentaries that Martin Luther wrote in the 16th century. They will refer to commentaries that were written by Tertullian, that was in the 2nd century, one of the early Christian fathers. And so they can sense, and there's different ones that do this better than the ones I pulled out here, but they can tell you how these verses have been interpreted since the 1st century, since the 2nd century. And they put this here so that from a historical perspective, there's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes tells us. So yes, we need to apply the Bible in today's world. We need to be able to understand it in our day, but I don't need to make up a new interpretation. In fact, if I do make up a new interpretation, then I need to determine, am I wrong? Because 2,000 years of history, or the Old Testament, for perhaps 4,000 years of history, has said this is the right way to interpret it. Why am I choosing to interpret it this way? And yes, there's new insights and new understandings, and when new texts are found, we can get clarification on some things. I'm not saying that, but so I go through these 7 different commentaries one by one, and you can see that I have some highlighting in place on some. I use slightly different colors in my highlighting as well, and then I take all of that and I put it over in my notes. Go back to my notes. Whoops, sorry. I wrote the wrong thing. And in my notes, things that I think are even more important, I will put in red. Things that I think are maybe a little bit less important, I will put in yellow. And some things I put in here just so that I don't have to go back to the commentaries. So this page right now, or this file right now, is, I think I'm about page 75, and I'm in the middle of chapter 2. I've created a template, out through about chapter 6 or 7. That's why it shows 187 pages down in the lower left-hand corner. But I just have oodles of information, and all of these pages are all related to Romans 1, 16, and 17. You see down here at the bottom of the page, I'm finally getting into my header of Romans 1, 18 through 32. So I have maybe 10 or 15 pages of notes from about probably 60 or 40 to 50 pages of reading that I've pulled together. And now I can go back to those because I've highlighted what's highlighted on my screen, or what is on my screen in my Word document. I highlighted in the original Logos software. But if I just want to print off a document to have with me and not have to have the whole software with me or something, I have what I think are the primary notes, or a note that says you need to go back and check even further. So again, this is some of the information that is that I use to make sure that I am being faithful to the text, not only from my own interpretation, but as I said yesterday, I would be looking at how I translate some other things as well, and make sure, or cross-reference my translations and my understandings, and that's what I've done here with Logos and other things. Again, I will put some resources, some free commentaries, the Bible Hub website. I'll put some of those in the show notes below the videos so that you can have access to those. I realize this is a lot. I'm doing this to help you. I realize not everybody's going to do this, but again, I'm trying to help you understand where I come from so that I can be as faithful to the text as I can when I'm teaching, when I'm preaching, when I'm sharing God's word with others. That will lead me to tomorrow's video. And in tomorrow's video, I am going to show you how I develop a lesson, or at least I'm not going to walk through the whole process, but I'm going to show you my considerations in developing a lesson, not only from just a Bible study lesson, but also a sermon. My lessons are far more detailed, but you'll see how that goes, and I'll explain some of that why. So again, one more day. If this is too much, bear with me for one more day. I hope you'll watch tomorrow, because again, I think it's going to clarify in your mind how my mind works a little bit. But if you don't, at least come back next week when we get back into Romans and talk, clarify more about Romans 2, 17 through 29 in these daily videos. Till tomorrow.